Procrastination was this unbeatable demon until I learned this magic spell, and now it's your turn to win. Procrastination is something that pretty much everybody does. Just look at how complicated that word is. It has 14 letters and 5 syllables, but even 7-year-olds know what it means because everybody does it. By middle school, I was very familiar with it. Procrastination was my master. I was an expert, and if we got grades for that, I would have been an honor student until I found a way to put even that off until tomorrow. I would do legendary feats like study for an exam as the teacher walked in through the door, and still get really decent grades. And homework? You know how teachers get angry when you do other subjects' work in their class? Try doing their class's homework while they're asking for it. And papers? Plagiarism was for chumps. Real legends would start writing them mere minutes before they were due. And hey, this is before we started using computers to submit papers, so of course I had to beg my classmates for what little they could spare. As we were heading to high school though, some folks warned us that this wouldn't work forever. My school had some older students come and give talks, warning us about how we were gonna have to start putting, actual time into studying and whatever we were submitting, so procrastination wasn't gonna cut it. Papers started getting more complicated. They started asking for several primary and secondary sources with real citation and lots of thought. That meant I had to say goodbye to my old friend Wikipedia. Now at this point, I wasn't worried quite yet. After all, I pretty much just breezed through the first 8 years of school. So what would be different about this one? The answer? Hell Week! It was like all the teachers had banded together and decided to postpone every single requirement until the last week of the semester, just to see if we could do it all in one go. We had a 10-page paper, 2-hour-long exams, and a presentation. Oh, and that was just Monday. To be fair, they gave us time, though of course, nobody took advantage of it. We only realized what was about to explode on us on the week before everything was due. It was a Tuesday night when I found myself gripping my cheeks and staring at my calendar, cursing my past self for playing video games instead of looking for the 20th review of related literature source. Now, of course, everyone knows the instinctive reaction to this. You get overwhelmed! There were just so many things to do that I couldn't even grasp how to do them all. It was like this train of stress had decided to plow into me. And how did I deal with stress? Try to feel better by playing more video games, only to stress myself out even more because losing isn't fun. Real helpful, right? But later in the day, I realized that this wasn't gonna work. The bombs on my calendar were going to explode if I didn't do anything about them. It was at this time when the words from the talks came into my head. I didn't pay all that much attention, but I knew one of the guys who gave the talks. Let's call him Kevin. We were just walking by the cafeteria when he gave me his tip. The best advice I can give you is really to just start. Just start. It doesn't matter if you don't finish it right away, but just make sure that you start. Just start. Okay, I could do that. The second I had permission not to finish it all in one go, it was like everything else had suddenly become manageable. Now, instead of writing insert big number here papers before the end of the week, all I had to do was create a file on my computer. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, that would only take 30 seconds, right? So there I was, staring at the blank screen. And again, all I wanted to do was lie down and preemptively feel exhausted from the mountain of work in front of me. But I had to start, right? So I promised myself again. Maybe I'd spend 5 minutes doing what I could. And anybody could spend 5 minutes, so that didn't really intimidate me so much. I pulled the instructions up, maybe even wrote down 1 or 2 ideas. Before I knew it, I had spent an hour and a half, and I had an outline ready. And even though there was still so much to do back then, that one particular paper didn't seem so difficult anymore. I had an outline. I already had something down. All I had to do now was just research a bit more, write it out, and mainly refine it. This big, scary task just magically morphed into tiny tasks that were just so much easier to do. And I repeated it for the rest of the week and the next, just calling myself out of bed, while Kevin's words echoed in my ears. Just start! Just start! Just start! And that actually worked. It was almost like I was in a trance. Little by little, the mountain disappeared as every tiny step forward shaved it down. By the end of it, I'd realized that Kevin taught me a magic spell. Just start would be the magic words to defeat procrastination whenever it showed its ugly face again. So why does this work? Well, I remember this TED Talk by Conor Neal, talking about this athlete called Yusuf Afram, who could basically just run forever. And this guy said that the secret to his stamina was just only focusing on the next 15 minutes. This mindset was like this time travel magic that forced him into the present instead of the future. And that works because procrastination is pain, or well, the fear of pain or discomfort in the future. That crazy intimidation I felt when looking at my calendar was me seeing 2 weeks worth of challenges, and facing all of that in one moment. Now that's just not manageable. But these 2 words, this magic spell, that drives the fog away and lets you see only the challenge right in front of you. Procrastination comes when you're afraid that you're not good enough or not ready enough to deal with the whole mountain. But buckle down and fasten your bootstraps, and you'll find that you are strong enough to take at least the first step. If you're strong enough to take the first step, you're strong enough to take the next one, and the next one, and the next one. The secret to scaling that mountain? Think even shorter than 15 minutes ahead. Think only 1 step ahead. Because a journey of 1,000 miles really does start with just a single step. And it ends after you take that single step thousands of times. The thing about this magic spell is that you already have it. I'm sure we've all summoned the will to cram whatever it is we had to do. I became aware of that the first time I went to bed after seeing the sunrise. Time and pressure kind of just force you onto that trail. But just like every movie or anime protagonist that gets forced into things, it's time for us to learn how to control our powers. This magic spell doesn't only work on the things that you need to do. It works with the things that you want to do too. Any huge goal or ambition you have is going to take a whole big lot of work to achieve. But it all starts with a single step. So, take it. I promise you'll be surprised by how far just 1 step can take you.